Thus, in this lecture video, I'll explain the whole workflow of creating the silhouette animation, which is the shadow play style animation. So this is what we're going to create in this video, right? And before I get started, I also recommend you to go to YouTube and search this animation, Invention of Love, which was released in 2010. So you can take a look at the style. Okay, so the artist basically did a different drawing and created a puppet of its character and used the shadow play style for the animation. It's very good animation to watch. All right, so let's get started. So first, I've included a download link for all these files. So first, basically, I went to Google and I find all these PNG images. For example, the cloud, the deer, the grass, and trees. So all of these are PNG images downloaded, and I'll use it as a start point of the animation, right? So I go to Photoshop, and this is what I created. Okay, these are the layers. So I'll show you the whole step. So basically, go to File, create a new, and here's the setting you will use. So 1920 times 1080, right? So since we're going to create a 1080 HD video and resolution as a 72, and go create. So first I want to create a new layer and fill a bluish color, maybe a little bit too dark. So if it is too dark, you can hit Command U for hue saturation, or if you're on Windows, use Control U. On Mac computer, use Control U. Command U, sorry. Okay, so this is a hue saturation, and you can also go to Image and Adjustment. Here is this is the shortcut. All right. So we'll increase the lightness and increase the saturation, hue a little bit. So use this color, and I'll rename it as color. And I'll change this blending mode to multiply. It doesn't look anything changed here, but once you place layer underneath it, you will see the different result. Okay, so now if we start with our grass, so I import this image here, hit return key to confirm, and I'll place it underneath here, and I'll place it underneath this layer, the color layer. So now it's a multiply mode, right? See, by default is a normal mode. So for normal mode, basically it's opaque, and change multiply, we'll be able to see through it. All right. So for the grass layer, I'm going to make it smaller. So hit Command T to make it smaller. On Windows, use Control T instead. So something like this. And then I would like to right click on this layer and rasterize the layer. Right now it's a smart object, right? So I'll rasterize it. And also I will hit Command U, which is hue saturation again, and I'll change the lightness to -100, so it'll be entirely black and white. Okay, and then I would like to duplicate this layer. So you can just hold on Option key. If you're on Mac computer, use Option. On Windows, hold on Alt key, and then just make sure select the right layer, and then just drag it, and you'll make a duplication. And you can also hold on Shift K, so you'll be able to move it horizontally, right? And we can place them together, right? And then I can make another duplication. Hold on Option key and drag it, and also hold on Shift K, so you can keep horizontal. So if I select all three of them, see, I can move them, and basically it's longer than our canvas, right? So that gives us a space for animation in After Effects, or in iMovie, or in Microsoft Photos. Okay, so I'll select all of them and right click and merge layers. The short key is Command E on Mac computer. On Windows, use Control E to merge them. and I'll just name it as a grass 2. Okay, and then I'll move a little bit faster. So I'll use the tree, bring it in, and my computer runs a little bit slower. Right click and rasterize the layer, and go to hue saturation and change the lightness. So this will be a tree. I would like to place it along this side. Okay. And for this tree, I'll place it here. And maybe I'll make it smaller. And right click and rasterize layer and change its lightness to -100. So these 3 layers, I'll use it in the foreground. Okay, so I keep it entirely black. And maybe this layer go left a little bit. Here we go. And then I'll import our deer layer into here. And I would like to make it smaller, something like that. And right click and rasterize layer, and also make it entirely black. Okay, and bring it down, place it here. Okay, so these 4 layers, I'll use it in the foreground, right? So that's why I keep it entirely black. And I would like to right click and mark it in red color, so I know it's a foreground. And then let's add the background. So here I'll use maybe this tree, 7. Okay, and I'll place it here. Okay, and right click, rasterize layer, and go to hue saturation. First, we'll change it to entirely black and white. Entirely black, so it get rid of all the color levels, right? And then we'll go to the hue saturation once again, the second time, and we'll move it a little bit brighter. So I would do about maybe about 40. Okay, so we can see the depth, right? You know, in the drawing, if you do a black and white drawing, anything you want to move it farther, you reduce its contrast, right, and make it a little bit brighter, so it will be farther. Okay, let's see what else we're going to use. Okay, we'll use a tree 3 maybe in here, and make it smaller. Make it smaller, something like this, and bring it in here, and I'll place it underneath the tree 7. So this will be farther, okay, far away from the camera. And I'll go to hue saturation and change it to black first, and then go to hue saturation again. Make it brighter. So this time I'll do about 60. Right, so it's brighter than that one. So this one is farther. So I'll place it here. Maybe I need it close. Okay, and this one I think I'll make it a little bit bigger, something like that. Okay, so that's the setting. These 2 I'll mark it in blue color since these are the background. So now let's add some environment. So here I'll drop in the cloud. Okay, however, I don't want to drop it directly in here because I'll show you why. Okay, see, if I drop it directly in here, oops, it freeze. Okay, because see, our image is 3000 pixels, right? So I want to keep the full resolution. If I drop it in here, it will reduce it to 1920, which is not what I want. So I'll just drop it into a new tab and bring it to another spot, and then copy it in here. Okay, so that way I can keep its full resolution. As you can see, it's a big image. And when I'm animating this whole scene in After Effects, I have the outer space on both sides. So now here I'll change its blending mode. First I'll change its opacity to about maybe 40 or maybe 30. So lower it down and change the opacity to, let's see, you can find the best one you like. I would just use a screen. Okay, and we'll make this type of animation later on. Okay, so this is the cloud 3, and I'll just rename it here. So that is for the atmosphere. And then in between here, these two trees in the background, the tree 7 and tree 3 here, I would like to insert a cloud there in between them. So I'll just go to cloud 2. Okay, as you can see, this image is also big. Okay, so I'll just drop it to a new tab and move it out, and then drag this image in so it'll insert in between them. So I'll rename it to cloud 2. Okay, so for cloud 2, what I'll do is I'll also change it to screen opacity. This time I'll use I'll make it higher because it's far away from the camera, so I'll do 50. Here we go. So I'll place it there. Okay, so if you want more detail, you can continue to add subjects like the bird, or the cloud in the sky, or stars, or sun, or moon. Depends on the time of the day. And you can even add butterfly and insects. By adding more details, you will have more polished animation. Okay, so for demonstration purpose, I'll just stop here. Okay, so then you will save it. So here I'll save it to here. I'll save it to this folder and name it to, I'll just say demo. Okay, and then go to After Effects. Okay, and we'll drag this file, demo PSD file, in here. When you drag it in here for import canned, we'll use composition return layer sizes, so it'll return all of the layers and it'll keep everything as a composition, so we'll have all of the layers in it, right? And check on editable layers tiles. So if you have multiply layer, screen mode, other blending mode, it'll keep those. And click on OK, and then you should see that you will have a folder which are all of the individual layers you have in Photoshop, right? And it'll also create a conversation, and when you double click on the conversation, you can see that these are the layers you have in your PSD file, right? And you keep the layers here. So this is in After Effects and this is in Photoshop. You can see that the layers are the same. Okay, so here I'll do the same thing. I'll select these 4 layers, which is the background, and I'll mark them in red color because they are the foreground. Excuse me. So these are foreground, and these 2 layers, okay, they are the background. So I'll change it to blue. I'll tag them in blue, and the cloud, I'll just leave it as it is. It's fine. Okay, so now let's create a camera movement. This is the camera movement we're going to create. So here are just the keyframed the movement. For these cases, a sample layer. However, in some cases, you may just create a 3D camera, right? Right click and new camera, and then you can place all of the layers in different depths by create a 3D layer on them and change them in different depth, right? So by doing the camera animation, you'll be able to create this type of animation. However, if you are doing that method, even though you're going to have a smoother and more realistic animation, but it will slow down the preview here and it will slow down your rendering. So if you are creating a simple animation as what I did here, you can just do keyframe animation, create a keyframe for it. Okay, so here I'll do keyframe. That's the method I'm going to use. So I'll select all of these 4 layers in the foreground. Here we go. Okay, and I'll hit PK, P for position, and I'll bring my timeline to 0 seconds, right? And I'll create the first keyframe here, and then go to the next frame. So in this conversation, I have 6 seconds, right? So that's the frame. I'll just drag it to right, and as you can see, if I move it down or up, I'll, you know, make it offset. So basically when I move it, I'll hold down Shift K so I can keep it horizontally, move horizontal. Okay, so I'll just move it a little bit, something like this. Okay, but now you can see the problem. The problem is the grass. Right here we already have a gap. So what I'll do is, for the grass layer, at the beginning frame, you know, basically I'll move it in the opposite direction, and then we can just play. So now basically as you play, because the grass move farther, right? So it'll move faster. We move it in a farther distance, and at the same time, basically it'll move faster. And here I'll just bring it back a little bit. Okay, and we can continue this practice. And we can select the tree, this tree, right? This one, and I can just, oops, sorry, I have to go to the next frame. So you can click on here to jump it to next frame and select this tree, and we can add more distance to move. So now it looks like, right, this tree moves faster than our deer, so it looks like it's closer. We can continue this process. So we can let it move farther, and for the deer, this layer, we can, you know, decrease the distance we have moved. So something like that. And then if you play, you will tell that the grass is very close to your camera, and then is this tree, and then this tree, and then your deer, right? So now you have the layers because all of them moving in different speed, so you can feel the depth. All right. So now let's move on to the background. Oh, I think I forgot one thing before I move to the background. So we have to move the cloud as well. So this is the cloud in the very front to the camera. So I'll go to the position as well, create the 2 keyframes. So the second keyframe, I'll move it in a lot distance. So this is how it looks. So it moves faster than the grass even, right? And then we can go back to 0 seconds, and I can select the background, the trees. So I can select all of them, the 3 layers, the background. So for the background, what I want to do is I want to move them in the opposite direction, not this direction. I want to move them in the opposite direction, which is the left side. So I'll hit PK, create the first keyframe on 0 second, and then next frame at the 6 second. So for the second keyframe, I'm going to move it to a little bit to left. So this will create a dramatic effect, something like this. So it not just like your camera is pan from one side to another side, it also looks like your camera is rotating, but keep aiming at the deer, right? And you can add more layers to it. So for example, if I go to the second keyframes, and I can select that tree, which is supposed to be tree 3, and for tree 3, you know, if your camera move along this direction, right, in the arc, and when your camera is on this side, look at it, basically this tree will move in a farther distance, right? So I'll just move it and show you, and you'll understand the concept. So I'll move it more, and then see, this is how it looks. So it looks like our camera is moving, is tilting to that side, right? So this tree is getting underneath that bigger tree, right? And if you want the cloud to also have to show as a layer, you can also, you know, just move it a little bit. Okay, and this will be the final result.